All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is Crypto Wealth, and I've got an incredible AMA for you today. Now, this gentleman on the channel, he has not been a stranger. We've had him on the channel before. He has been leading up a project, but this project is currently going through an evolution. And I mentioned a couple of days ago that I was going to be talking about a new project that's getting launched that I think has the potential, at least their goal, their aim, what their stated intentions are, has a chance to truly transform crypto. So we're going to be getting into that as well today. By the way, I want to give a public apology. I said this video would probably be out a day before than what is getting out, but we just had some schedule conflicts and that happens. So I want to go ahead and get started with Mr. AJ, who's on the channel. I'm going to kind of have him briefly introduce himself to those who may not know him. We're also going to go into the project that he's led up and talk a little bit of history about that. And then we're going to go into what's new, what's happening, so you all can be informed. By the way, if you love content like this, do me a favor and smash that like button. All right, AJ, welcome to the channel.
Thanks. Well, hey, brother. It's I'm honored to be back, man. You and I go way back, and again, this is you invited me on again. Like you said, we had some scheduling conflicts. I've been doing about 15 AMAs the last like 5 days, so it's been nonstop. But yeah, man, happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to chat with you. So yeah, and yeah, I am the team lead at EMP. EMP is a project that I started along with a few other co-founders earlier. Actually, it's been over a year now, which is incredible. I mean, any crypto project that lasts over a year is something, no matter what that means, is an accomplishment. So we are a seigniorage protocol, which means essentially we operate as a closed loop economy within our system. And EMP is inflationary, but it's only inflationary when we are above peg. So unlike traditional seigniorage models, again, the U.S. economy is a seigniorage model. The Romans, any form of currency is typically based around this idea of expanding supplied currency. So a lot of people say, well, you're below pay. What's the point? Well, we pay through a secondary token called eShare, and by having a two token system, allows us to reward our users without dumping or devaluing our native asset EMP. Again, we could do a whole AMA on this. We were the first DeFi protocol to do an actual academy around our protocol. We're very heavy on education first. So you can see right there in the middle, yep, the EMP Academy, or the button right in the middle, learn how to invest on EMP money. Again, we go through about an hour of content. As you can also see in the top right, we still have over $6 million of TVL, and the EMP token and the eShare token has well over $3 million in liquidity combined. Even though we are below peg, we have built this protocol very differently with innovative tech that helps us pay out. Again, the ultimate vision of EMP is to be a passive income platform with exposure to the price of Ethereum. We have some really innovative stuff. One of those things is what we're calling EMP Fusion, which is the ultimate form, or the final form of what we feel will make EMP sustainable long term, and make it much more hands off, where it really will run autonomously and make things a lot more simple. EMP Fusion makes it much more user friendly, much more gamified. Still stays true to our original goal of, again, providing passive income with exposure to ETH, and now even other blue chips through Fusion. So
So this is
yeah,
incredible. I want to talk about
yeah,
this for a moment.
absolutely.
So the idea, first of all, being able to get to a point where you're decentralized and autonomous. I mean, I think that should be the goal. It's not, but in my personal opinion, that should be the goal of all crypto projects. That's incredible. You're talking about creating a legacy product, especially with if EMP can pull off, if they can actually pull off being able to generate passive yield that's competitive with the current crypto space, not traditional finance, of course, current crypto space, but being able to do it
For
in a
sure.
way that is fully decentralized and autonomous, That would just be like the holy grail of passive income in crypto projects. Can you just go into, before we get to layer 1x, can you just go into what is, in your mind, the vision for EMP Fusion?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have been a little bit vague on purpose because we've been building out this EMP Fusion for the last literally 6 months. We saw the writing on the wall with a lot of these seniors protocols, the uncontrolled inflation, the human error. Again, the whole idea is that you're able to actually make more money by utilizing EMP in the farms and other contracts that not only helps support PEG, but then allows you to earn eShare. Well, unfortunately, people just seem to want to take profit in the native asset. So they dump EMP, which is essentially, shooting yourself in the foot. And, from an investment standpoint, it makes you less money. So again, no matter how much education we can do, uh, you know, uh, human nature takes over. So with Fusion, it will be completely um, eliminating that human error. And so we'll be using a series of NFTs that essentially encapsulate your ownership of the protocol, and then we'll produce yield through our treasury. This is another major mindset change in terms of what other DeFi projects do. So typically in a DeFi project, it's purely it's Ponzinomics, meaning you have to have new users and new volume to be able to pay out old users. Well, EMP is 100% the opposite of that. I mean, obviously, we want new users, and that always helps the ecosystem, but we have a very, very healthy treasury. A lot of people have said, well, why don't you just spend the treasury to get back to PEG? Well, that would be absolutely the worst thing we could do because now not only is that providing exit liquidity for people that may want to get out or just bad actors looking to swing trade, but now the protocol is broke. We utilize our treasury to generate real yield, and this is a paradigm shift in crypto. I think any new project or existing project that doesn't focus on real revenue will absolutely die 100%. Mark my words, they will die. So we have this real revenue model where, again, through our treasury, we're diversified over many things. We have a large position at Splinterlands, which is a play to earn game, some of our partner protocols that we're invested in, and all we have a YouTube channel that generates ad revenue. I mean, we have a ton of different diversified revenue streams that will then slowly but surely allow us to help buy back EMP over time without ever touching the principal of our treasury. So that is the vision of Fusion. And then L1X plays into that, which we'll talk about here in a minute. The revenue that we can potentially get from the L1X exchange, which is how we fit into L1X, could 100x the daily revenue that our treasury currently yields. That's a high level overview. Wealth.
Let me just say this for a moment because I'm hearing something different in your voice that I've heard on other AMAs. And I want everyone to understand because you said here all seigniorage projects, specifically if they aren't focused on real yield, they will collapse. And I just want to say because that sets you up for someone to say, well, why in the world would you create something you thought was going to collapse? But there is a distinct difference. When you got started, you told me you were launching this project, and from the get-go, I was skeptical. But what you said, and the academy proves it, and you said it here, you said no amount of education, but that's a new understanding for you because you genuinely believed that if people understood how the protocol worked, and if they understood they could sell e-shares all day long, then it wouldn't affect the price of EMP. This could be much more sustainable in the long run. And then it was just a matter of figuring out how to fix the e-share system on the back end. And that's all you would really have to focus on is maintaining some sort of value for e-shares. So if people didn't dump EMP, and the way you did that initially, and this is when you originally approached me, was you basically, for lack of better terms, they weren't all whales, but you definitely had guys that were in the know that had some liquid assets come in and take some position. And some of them took big positions, and they basically promised to not sell their holdings
For sure.
for an extended period of time, and they all did that except for one, is my understanding. that bought you some time, and then you guys put together this academy. And for a long time, when the community was small, it was working. Like it lasted and did better than I thought it was going to do in the short to medium term. It was really doing well. And then you saw when you saw people were doing the wrong thing. And I hate when people say bad actors, because it's not bad actors. Everybody has a chance to sell. That doesn't make you bad. But people weren't understanding the model, and they were selling EMP and not E-shares and shooting themselves in the foot in the long run. And then it, of course, creates a little bit of a panic when price continues to drop and it depegs and it stays depegged. And that's when you started creating other contracts like Detonator and Reactor to kind of help prop that up. But then the focus came to, okay, we're going to have to do something different. And obviously, it sounds like that's where Fusion came into play, when you started to realize that education alone wouldn't save a project. Community, and I think this is important because I'm in some small DeFi communities reading their Telegram, and I'm not invested in most of them. And it's a common thing. They want to call people selling bad actors, which is wrong. And they want to, at the same time, try to get everyone to be good players in the community through education of some sort. None of them did as good as you guys did with this academy, by the way. If you don't understand how Sinuage protocols work, you should watch the EMP Academy. It's really good. Now it's like, okay, now we know we need real, sustainable yield coming in, and that's what you're doing with the treasury. I love what you said, and I think you're right. Using the treasury, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm not even, just so you know, I'm currently not even in EMP. I had a small position in there twice, 2 different times. But at this point in time, I don't think I have any assets at all in this ecosystem at all. I do like what they're doing. I like what they're trying to do. This is the kind of stuff that I pay attention to, because I've always felt like these small, this is what I would consider kind of a cottage grassroots project in crypto. Ladies and gentlemen, these projects, in many cases, small tweaks to these projects or small interesting things about these projects oftentimes get utilized by much bigger projects, and some of these smaller projects become much bigger projects. And when you hear AJ saying he understands that he doesn't need to sell the treasury and he's got to produce real yield, I'm telling you as an outsider, I don't know what that means long term from the project, but I can tell you that that's long term thinking that matters. Like, that's what matters. So now you guys are working on creating this fusion concept, which sounds like the idea is to make things simpler and easier, but at the same time, focus is more on real yield. Let's be clear about one more thing. Using the treasury for real yield to create passive income would not have ever been possible if EMP had never launched in the first place. So you can't have one without the other. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely, Wealth. And again, I mean, we get passionate, we see that actor, but really, I mean, to your point, I mean, we if you want to exit EMP, that's everybody's prerogative. It really is more about what we're trying to build and learning. I mean, again, I think a lot of crypto projects either completely give up. It's basically a soft rug because they just don't develop anymore or they don't care enough. For us, it's about learning and pivoting, or figuring out what the issues were along the way and how do we solve that. And for me, again, I'm a crypto investor as well. I put myself in other people's shoes. I want to invest in teams, not necessarily projects. And we've been building our asses off for again since day one to try to continue to make this as sustainable and as long lasting as humanly possible. And even today, again, the other cool thing about seniors protocols, even though we're so far below peg, our farms are still paying about 6% a month in yield. So again, that's not degen APRs, but it's based on the health of the protocol. So as the peg goes back up, then now you're able to even earn way more because eShare becomes more valuable. The farms are paying eShare, so that means the APR goes up, and it really is cyclical because we do see a lot of the projects, and again, not to call anybody out, but we see projects paying 2, 3, 4% daily, and that is just not sustainable. And anybody that thinks that is sustainable, just has no idea. Obviously, would never want to start a project that had inherent flaws, and we thought that we did solve that through education, and honestly, we did. I mean, we're alive today because of our incredible educated community, and being through one of the worst bear markets we've seen. EMP launched when ETH was $4,000 and Bitcoin was 55K. We have survived an entire month or a year and 2 months, and are still paying because of all the stuff that we have implemented. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
totally. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a credit to you. That's a credit to the team. Go into Fusion, and I'm excited about this. Can you first touch on what Layer 1X is?
So
First of all, let me just say this. I got very excited about this project, and I plan to do a dedicated video just about Layer 1X probably in the next day or two. And I will tell you then sort of my thinking and my investment strategy on how I'm going to kind of play Layer 1X. So you can stay tuned for that video. That's outside the scope of this video. But let me tell you and by the way, that's not financial advice. None of this is financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just a very enthusiastic YouTuber. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a financial advisor. But what Layer 1 is proposing to do is what I believe is one of the things that crypto needs in the long run. And that's interoperability between blockchains. And ideally, what we really need is autonomous, decentralized interoperability between blockchains, which is what they're working towards without a doubt. Decentralized Layer 1X is a decentralized blockchain providing unrivaled interoperability, scalability, speed, and security. And by the way, AJ, if you can line up someone to speak to me about Layer 1X, I'd be glad to do an AMA with
yeah,
them as
brother.
well.
No,
I know.
absolutely. I know we again with our scheduling issues, we were trying to get them on for today, but yeah, we'll do a follow-up video with them as well. And so yeah, do you want to kind of maybe we could start kind of how this opportunity fell in our lap, Wealth,
Yeah,
and then go from there? Okay.
absolutely. So yeah, that's true because there's roots to EMP. So go ahead with that.
Because of what we have built at EMP, we say this all the time. We've assembled a ton of big brain MFers. With the community, with the way that EMP operates, we attracted a lot of extremely bright individuals within our community. One of those community members was part of what we call our EMP Army, which is essentially an extension of our team. And he took a position with L1X quite a few months ago and said, "Hey, I took a job with this new layer one chain. They're doing stuff that's really unique. Would you mind taking a look at it?" So myself, as well as the entire EMP team, did a few months of due diligence on this. We looked at the code, we asked all the hard questions, and we said, "Wow, like." This actually might do something truly revolutionary. And so, because of our relationship, we were given an opportunity to whitelist in the pre-sale, and we did that again. The same price that all of you are able to get into now is what we were getting in originally. The more that we work with the team, I saw the potential in a cross-chain DEX. So I put together a proposal to be an exchange on L1X. The proposal we put together, they were so impressed that again, not only were we awarded the ability to utilize the tech, but now we are the launch deck. So all that being said, what L1X is doing, a lot of chains have said, yeah, we're interoperable, or they again, Polkadot is a great example with their parachains. They claimed to have all this, atomic swapping and interoperability, but when you really get down to it, it doesn't really function that way. And so L1X is really set on solving true interoperability and the trilemma, which is security, scalability, and speed. So they are 100,000 transactions throughput. That's the highest out of all chains that are currently available. The scalability is there because through interoperability, you're able to actually have access to all chains without using a bridge. And this is truly what I get most excited about, because last year alone, there was $2 billion that was hacked or exploited through bridging. So to
Yep.
be able to be able to interact with all EVM and Rust based blockchains, which is Solana. That is amazing, and this is their own virtual machine. So they have built this from the ground up over the last 2.5 years through the University of Western Australia, and they have a working product. I mean, that's another thing. There's some major claims here, and I was definitely skeptical, but they have a test net that is actually working, and if you join their Discord, they'll give you a link where you can actually mess around on the test net and see that everything's working. And then the final thing is security. You know, because of the way they are building this virtual machine, any single person that interacts with the chain through a smart device or anything with a chipset, meaning a smartwatch, a computer, a phone, a smart TV, a smart refrigerator, those all become validators. You're potentially spreading out um, the consensus of the blockchain over millions, if not billions, of devices. Not proof of work, not proof of stake, but more of proof of participation. Because as long as you're using the O1X chain, you are eligible for those validator transactions, and then eventually the validator rewards as well. So yeah, again,
This
I
is
know it's a lot to
yeah.
take in
So
wealth, but yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just saying this. First of all, let me just, for my audience sake, I just want to say this. Just, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch my channel, I'm listen. I always try to be objective, but so I've got two things running through my head right now, uh, positive and negative. The positive is this is unbelievable. This could be mind-numbing if it was successful. Like this literally could change the world that we live in today if this is in fact successful. And obviously, the developers and the team expect that it is successful, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. They've got private sale commitments of almost $10 million. That's more than enough to launch practically any blockchain. Uh, this is incredible. Now, here's the negative. This is insanely ambitious. And when AJ said that he was skeptical, just know I am extraordinarily skeptical. And I will remain skeptical as I will invest in this project. The reason I will invest, even though I'm skeptical, is because I think that's what you have to look at the good and the bad and make a decision. I'm willing to make some investments. And again, I'll cover my specific strategy in another video, but I'm willing to do this because if it works, and for now, I'm going to give it 50-50. But if it works, if this is real, if it launches and it launches without issues, and I say that because Solana has all sorts of issues and they're considered, a phenomenal project in theory. But if this works and it works well and it gets rolled out, probably will get rolled out in stages. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a game changer. This is a freaking game changer. So
Totally will. And yeah, again, I get really excited when I present this. The L1X chain is not affiliated, with EMP. We've simply been given this opportunity to build. They also have our grant program for developers that want to build on the chain as well. The same legal entity that set up the ETH Foundation set up the L1X Foundation as well. So again, and yeah, take everything with a grain of salt. I am still skeptical, but knowing what I know, working with L1X directly, I would not put my reputation on the line, and really get behind this because I really do think they can deliver on everything that they're claiming. And again, the test net is already functioning, which is a huge step, in the right direction. I know, again, not to make a comparison here, but I know I was investing and I have invested in Pulse Chain. Well, Pulse did their sacrifice or contribution phase before the chain was even built, and that's why it's been 2.5 years and still no Pulse Chain. Well, L1X did it the right way, and how most layer ones and do things is they build the code first and then go to market. So I think we're in a whole different ballgame here. And again, I know a lot of people might be used to going into projects where you see that initial pump and dump on launch. Well, again, historically speaking, all layer one or layer two actual blockchains, again, with not nearly the innovation that L1X has, they do an average of 42x from their launch price, and you're getting in through our presale at 10 cents, which is the absolute lowest seed round price possible. The launch price is set to be about 50 cents. So that's already a potential 5x. Again, not financial advice. This is definitely risky, and never invest more than you're willing to lose. But yeah, so again, and what I want to kind of get into now, and well, feel free to interrupt me at any time to elaborate on things. But
I
you
just
know,
want to I just want to
yeah,
point
go
this
ahead. Yeah,
out, the
yeah.
pre-sale. So the pre-sale, and he can tell you exactly how to take advantage of it here in a moment, but you just be aware when you go in on pre-sales, there's typically a vesting period. So it's not like you can just hop in and dump it, so to speak. So you got to be aware of that. Um,
Totally.
and and the hard cap, of course, and he can go over all that, the minimum amount you need to get in, but just understand in a pre-sale, like there'll be a mechanism, and he can explain that if he knows that they'll unlock, probably, every month, once a month, probably. They'll unlock, say 1/15th if that's how they're going to do it. It'll be every month or every quarter, probably. They'll unlock a certain amount of your tokens, and those are available to sell, to keep, to stake, do whatever. When it says it launches at 50 cents, just I want you to understand what that means. If you were to put in hypothetically $12,000, then that means it's going to launch at a price that's going to be 5x or $12,000. But the first chance you get to sell any of it, you're only going to be able to sell 1/15th.
So yeah, let me elaborate on this now since we're already here. You could have the most amazing blockchain in the world, and if nobody is building on it, then it doesn't matter. So I want to really do a deep dive on that in a minute. But let's talk about this for now. So yes, everything well said was pretty much exactly on point. There is some opportunity cost with going into pre-sales like this because there is usually a heavy vesting schedule, and for that's also bullish though for the price point because obviously you don't want people being able to unlock a ton of their tokens and dump on launch.
Yep.
So vesting really helps the price appreciation as well. And to Well's point about validators, yeah, so you can be a validator just by having an L1X wallet, which they are going to be releasing a wallet or interacting with the chain directly. But nodes, they are going to be running nodes. And yes, to Well's point, they have not released that information yet, but typically you have to have a lot of L1X staked to be a node operator. So, and there will be a ton of use case on day one, other than L1X being the gas token, and we'll talk about that as far as our exchange. Again, two more major topics. This is gonna be a long one today, so hang in there, everybody. But yeah, so the actual pre-sale, again, like Well said, if you contributed $15,000, you'll be getting $1,000 every month for 15 months in tokens. So at the 10-cent price. So again, and we do have a guaranteed allocation through our presale of 2.5 million. It was a soft cap that we ended up removing because L1X said, hey, you guys have already raised almost $500,000 we'll guarantee you the 2.5. And then we have a hard cap of $5 million worth. So they are running their own presale congruently to ours. So if you go through the actual L1X website, again, you have to whitelist, you have to KYC, you have to go through a lot of other steps. But maybe if you want to use fiat instead of crypto, that might be a better option for you. Again, that was another thing. The appetite for L1X has been massive, and they could have easily gone to venture capitalists and gotten all the pre-sale money. But that's a testament to what L1X is doing and their vision. They want to put this in the hands of the most amount of users as possible. So by having those, maximum contributions, it really spreads out the holders, which is even more, bullish for the decentralization of L1X to begin with. So yeah, that's again the high level overview of the pre-sale. Anything else on that?
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing, not financial advice. If they can even pull off a working blockchain that allows any form of true interoperability, Like this project is going to this term, it's going to melt freaking faces if that happens.
Totally. Well, it's a what I've been saying. It's a market disruptor, and I think that really is the potential here. And I keep bringing up the test net, but there's a video, and you can even do it yourself as well. But they were able to go from USDC to USDT, native USDT on the Polygon network to native USDT on the Avalanche chain, and they were able to do that for a fee of about 20 cents, and it took literally about 45 seconds for that to take place. So again, because of this interoperability and really making the virtual machine, it's not a copy of anything. This is a built from scratch chain. Not only are they able to transact, uh, you know, uh, um, tokens chain to chain, but they're also able to transact logic chain to chain. And so this is the next topic before we wrap it up that I wanted to kind of really elaborate on because again, you can have the most amazing blockchain in the world, but nobody's building on it. It doesn't matter. Well,
AJ, hang
yeah,
on. I
yeah,
want people to
yeah,
understand because a lot of people are just buying. The vast majority of crypto users, most people are not playing on all the chains. But just, ladies and
for
gentlemen, I just
sure.
want you to understand what this takes right now. So right now, if you wanted to do it in the most decentralized way possible, there's two methods. One is less decentralized, and I use the less decentralized method to be honest with you. If you're going to switch, for example, Ethereum, and you want to take Ethereum on the Ethereum chain, and you want to go to Ethereum on, say, even a layer two, you've got to use what's called a bridge, and you've got to send funds to basically a smart contract intermediary. Those funds have to be held there, and then the counterparty amount has to be listed on the other side. And so, and if you're that's if you're staying, say, layer two solution. If you're going cross chain, it's even more complex. Sometimes it involves more than one wallet. It definitely involves multiple addresses. And there's a significant risk. A lot of people felt, myself included, thought bridges were relatively safe. But what happens is if you use ETH, for example, when you're going cross chain to BNB or Bitcoin, when you use a bridge, you have to first send your transaction to this bridge and you have to wait some time. It takes quite a bit of time for most bridges to go through, or sometimes it takes quite a bit of time. And on the other side, you'll end up getting, for example, your Bitcoin or whatever. If the bridge gets hacked for whatever reason, the way the bridge works is they're essentially storing the Ethereum that you had there. So if someone wants to come back across, they can. If a bridge gets hacked, though, you cannot do that. You can't cross chain like that. And there's really not any good. It's really only smart contract EVM compatible stuff that really works well. Is trying to go to Bitcoin doesn't work well unless it's like wrap Bitcoin.
For sure.
I end up using the centralized version. Well, the less centralized. The most centralized things you can do is go to an actual centralized exchange and swap. I end up doing like ChangeNow.network and stuff like that because it's just easier and it doesn't have me having to use an exchange or KYC and all that stuff. And a lot of our exchanges in the US don't have all the other chains and stuff. They just don't. So like I just literally used one earlier. And it's kind of crazy because there's a protocol I interact with, one of my trading protocols that I use. I've talked about on this channel before, but I literally carry US stablecoins on two different chains just to diversify the bridge risk. So I carry it on Arbitrum and Optimism because I understand there's bridge risk involved, and there's possible exploits of bridges and whatnot. So being able to have something like Layer 1x, you're talking about one transaction and done, and not having the same bridge risk. At least that's what I'm hoping, and I'll find out when I actually talk with those guys. If that is in fact the case, ladies and gentlemen, I am skeptical. I can't help but be. But at the same time, I can't help but be crazy excited about the possibility of actually having this in the crypto space.
Yeah, no, well, that was a great explanation. Again, I sometimes I get a little bit too in the weeds, and the simplest explanation is what is best. So, but yeah, with that, again, I was saying not only are we interoperable in terms of tokens, like everything that Wealth just said, where you can now transact in actual native Ethereum on, or move between native Ethereum and native BNB without a bridge. Again, that's just revolutionary. But you're also able to be interoperable with logic. And so what this does, it solves the dilemma of adoption because of the way the virtual machine is built. You're able to actually submit smart smart contract transactions through L1X. So typically, when a new chain launches, a developer has to either rewrite their entire code base to be compatible, even if it is an EVM compatible chain. They have to rewrite a ton of the code to interact with the liquidity pools and everything else on that native chain, or a developer just has to start over and start from scratch. Well, with L1X, you're able to change about 3 lines of code in your smart contract, which allows that interoperability of logic to take place. So again, because you're able to just simply update those very minimal lines of code so that it recognizes the L1X RPC. And not only are you able to onboard, all new users from L1X, but because of the interoperability, you're able to onboard users from every single chain. So again, just wrap your head around this for a minute. As long as they make that few lines of code change, now you can have a project on BSC or BNB network that is able to talk to native smart contracts on Ethereum. And just imagine what that will do with DeFi. And again, the last thing we're going to talk about is our cross network exchange. And this will come into play heavily with that. But now you have the most capital efficient blockchain ever because it's able to talk to all the other chains.
I want to talk about this, what this changes for those that are in DeFi. One of the things this potentially changes, and I'm telling you, this is where I got to keep my FOMO in check, because I mean, like this has the potential to.
For sure.
I mean, rarely do I say melt faces. I don't even like that term because I think it gets thrown around too much. But this disruptor is an understatement for this to work. But those of you who use other chains, for example, with MetaMask, and you have to go to like websites like Chainlist or whatever and add all these different chains to your MetaMask. And every time you go to interact with something, you got to make sure you're on the right wallet, you got the right chain, you got to switch chains and all this nonsense that happens. You're talking about potentially ending all of that, not having to do any of that. Literally, you would probably have,
100%.
that's a game changer. Like that's nuts. Think about the usability of that. Think about how much simpler that is. And when people tell me that crypto is not ready for mass adoption, I always think, yes, but you don't understand how quick technology is moving. Most people who say stuff like that have no idea. And listen, Layer 1X is not the only one trying to solve this problem. There's lots of people trying to solve it, but nobody solved it yet. And because it's kind of the holy grail to solve. So by Layer 1X, having a functioning test net and this working and then being so close to this is what is so exciting. We need something like a Layer 1X for there to ever be mass adoption. People need to be able to quickly and easily, autonomously, in a decentralized way, go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, or Ethereum on Optimism to Ethereum on Arbitrum, whatever. They need to be able to do it with one transaction without a lot of changing wallets and bridging. This is nuts. Okay, all right. Next topic. Sorry,
Yeah,
AJ, keep going.
no, I love that. So one last banger before we switch topics, and this will be the final topic next, our exchange. But all of that we just went over. Well, imagine this situation. L1X will have its own wallet as well. So obviously, with the new functionality that L1X brings, it's probably going to be a lot easier to use their wallet. But all this is also interoperable with MetaMask. So don't feel like you have to, adopt a whole new, workflow. But to Wells' point, you would literally update your RPC on MetaMask to the L1X RPC, and then never ever have to do that ever again, which is amazing in terms of user experience. And so one last major point I want to make with this capability of transferring a logic, you're actually even able to avoid the native gas fees on these chains. So what that means is, again, there is the stipulation, whatever smart contract you're interacting with has to have that code updated. Again, a few lines that will recognize L1X, but now you can potentially send an Ethereum transaction to a smart contract and pay the L1X gas fee of a maximum of 1 cent instead of having to pay the Ethereum gas fee because uh, L1X is validating those transactions. So again, there's just massive potential here. And to Wells' point, it may happen in stages. Obviously, with any kind of a major launch like this, there is a bumpy road usually. But we're talking maybe months of delay instead of years, like we've seen on other chains. So again, really amazing stuff. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was our exchange. We approached L1X about doing an exchange, and they were so impressed with the team that we assembled and the vision that they have given us the ability now through EMP and DEX Finance to create the launch DEX of L1X. And now, why is that so important? So when I say launch DEX, think about the relationship that Uniswap has with ETH, or PancakeSwap has with BNB, or Trader Joe has, with AVAX. When you're a launch DEX, not only are you working with the team hand in hand, but you also have the support of all the L1X engineers to help us pull this off. And we have the most volume on day one because we will be the first chain or the first exchange to launch. We get all the market share and all the volume L1X, being that is the only way you're able to buy L1X unless you were in a pre-sale. So this is massive. And just to put some numbers behind it, PancakeSwap does $400,000 a day in fees, and Uniswap does $4 million a day in fees. So even if we're able to capture a very small percentage of that market share, which again, with the interoperability, this could be a DEX that everybody wants to use. So we could have a much larger percentage of both of those fees combined. And all of that will either be going in we're using a real revenue model. Again, just like I was mentioning earlier, the vision of EMP is to really focus on real revenue. So what that means is even a small percentage, because obviously EMP and DEX Finance will have equity in this exchange, we could have tens of thousands of dollars funneling back in from this exchange to support EMP and DEX Finance long term. So again, DEX Finance is the partner helping us bring this to life. They have an amazing track record. They're another seniors protocol, and that's how we developed our relationship to begin with. That is pegged to a stable asset, and they have never lost peg, not even once. And yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up as well, Wealth. So what stands out to me, and what has always stood out to me with DEX, is that they have amazing UI. They have done the user experience first, where it's simple to navigate. They have amazing devs that are helping build all of this, and so that is why we brought DEX Finance into the fold.
But I want to say, like, if you guys launch a native DEX, first of all, okay, pros and cons, ladies and gentlemen. This is me. The pros, the rosy picture is, first of all, I think you're going to get more volume than you'd think. If Layer 1X works as advertised, that's the $1 million if. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. If I knew for 100% fact this was going to launch and work immediately, there is no amount of money that I would not try to invest in this thing. That's how big it would be. Since I
Totally.
don't know that, I'll probably go in with like $1,000. But I'm saying, like, if I knew for 100% fact, so as excited as I get excited about the potential. But putting my money where my excitement is and how much I'm willing to put on that excitement is the. But understand, if this works, $1,000 still can become a life-changing amount of money if this was actually go as advertised. So with that being said, and again, I'll cover my investments in another video. I want you to understand. I think you guys would get far more volume. I mean, listen, The fact that 1 cent gas fees, I mean, if that is even possible. See, here's the thing. We don't even need everything to work. If just part of this works, it's crazy. 1 cent gas
Totally.
fees, and I haven't even seen the tokenomics yet. I don't know what they're going to do with the tokenomics because that gets very interesting eventually. And it's, are they going to have a limited token supply? But then again, if they have a limited token supply, that could eventually cause gas fees to rise. But at the same time, if it causes gas fees to rise, that's going to be because the supply is going down. That's good for the investor. So it's really hard to say. I would love to have those guys on, but this is like possible insanity waiting to happen if even part of this works. So if it works and there's low gas fees and all this stuff, I mean, I don't even understand why anyone would use Uniswap anymore to swap their Ethereum. I wouldn't, and I'm certain most of the listeners right now wouldn't. So
Totally.
the fact that the timing of this and that you guys have been able to secure I mean, this could be enormous for the entire EMP community, and I hope your community recognizes that they literally have been on the ground floor of development. They've literally been watching possibly extraordinary history take place right now. And that's just incredible. So I'm happy for you guys to be able to have this opportunity. And the downfall, the negative is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a negative. It doesn't matter if they're the launch decks. There's no guarantee they'll be the decks of the future. For that's going to be come down to how they run business promotions, and
Totally.
that sort of thing. That's what that comes down to. I promise you, there will be more. Just like every other chain, there will be other competitors in this space. But the launch decks typically ends up being the primary decks because once liquidity is established, typically liquidity tends to stay where it starts in most cases. So this could be interesting. All right, what else? Anything
Yeah,
else?
yeah, no, absolutely, brother. So just to wrap it up again, the other really cool thing about R, and again, we're getting through this raise right now. It goes to March 14th, or until that hard cap is reached. But after that, we'll be releasing again. The Dex will have its own, branding, its own socials, and then we'll eventually release the white paper. But the goal right now is not to have a secondary token for the exchange. So again, this is revolutionary in terms of what it could do for L1X in a use case on top of everything. So typically on a DEX, you have a secondary token. So again, just to give an example, Cake with PancakeSwap. Well, Cake is highly inflationary, and they use that as a secondary token to reward LP providers, and it becomes very speculative on what will happen. Now they do use some of their revenue to buy back and burn Cake from the exchange fees, but we want to cut that out from the get-go. So the idea right now is that L1X will actually be the native asset of the exchange as well. And so by staking L1X or providing liquidity with L1X, you are then entitled to a percentage of those exchange fees. So again, it's real revenue that's then being distributed back to the participants of the exchange. And one thing too, this is the last point. Again, I keep saying that, but I know we're going long here. But we have a very revolutionary way of how we're going to handle the exchange as well. So it will not be a fork, and it will not even be similar to what you might be used to with AMMs or automated market makers, the way Uniswap or PancakeSwap works. This will be a hybrid exchange. So from a user perspective, and again, this is another reason why we brought Dex Finance on board, is that we will be building this exchange to look and function a lot more like a centralized exchange, but without having the risk of, not your keys, not your crypto. So everything under the hood will be 100% decentralized and, trustless. But on the front end, you'll be able to drag and drop your limit orders. You'll be able to set stop losses. You'll be able to do gasless transactions within the exchange, again, from token to token. So this opens up a whole another amazing avenue of adoption as well on our exchange. So we have such big plans, Wealth, and again, brother, I could go on for another hour and a half, but I think that you guys get the overall picture, and yeah, that just even if they're able to deliver on half of what they say they can. This is something that, has so I mean, I've been in crypto for 7 years, going on 7.5 years, and I've never even seen something come close, to what L1X is trying to do.
No, you know what's interesting is Pulse Chain offered or promised some of this. So it's mostly lower transactions and slightly higher throughput was part of the promise of that. Plus this crazy airdrop they were going to do, and that's not come to fruition. And I made a big bet on that one because I thought it was going to be great. And
You and me both, brother. Yeah, I'm
interest.
I'm I'm waiting on that for sure, man.
Well, interestingly enough, though, I think that they're falling behind the technical curve right now, and so it's like even if they
For
do
sure.
launch, like the the promises they made at promotion are not as valuable as they were when they were promoting it already because of technology. And you look at something like Layer One X, which is offering to do potentially so much more. And I do want to say this: anytime you do a lot of development, ladies and gentlemen, there's always like risk involved. You got to understand that brand new development. That's why I say, like, if I knew that I knew that I knew this was going to launch without a hitch, launching is one thing. Then it's got to get tested. It's got to get battle tested, and every Twitter troll on the planet's going to be looking at the code, and every malicious hacker is going to attempt to hack it. That's just how it works in crypto with projects. And then you got EMP Money. Then we're going to launch this native DEX. It's got to get battle tested. It's new designs, but when the new designs do work and they become battle tested, you're talking about having something beautiful that potentially we've never had in crypto. And whether you choose to invest in this or not, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned and pay attention to what's happening. I'm going to continue to follow this development, and we may end up having AJ on again, especially when there's a new exchange coming up and that sort of thing. But ladies and gentlemen, this is incredible potential stuff, and you want to be paying attention to what's happening here. And AJ, if you can get me somebody on board with Layer One X, I'd love to interview somebody, just ask questions about the project, get a better idea about the project from someone who's in the know that has a little bit of a technical understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome if we can line that up. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to the channel. We may have that in the future. Thank you so much for being here. And if you still made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, go down in the comments and say, I'm still here. I'd love to see who made it all the way through this video. This is incredible potential. It's really positive for the EMP community and that team. It's positive for all of us with what Layer 1X is trying to do. And then them being able to have potentially one of the best exchanges just because of the Layer 1X technology plus brand new designs that allows us to add, limit orders and stop orders and do it in a way that's far more user friendly. Ladies and gentlemen, gasless. Did we say gasless yet? Gasless. This
Totally.
could be a game changer. And when I say this and I get excited about it, AJ, I kind of feel dumb too to even think that it's possible because we haven't had it for so long. So I kind of feel like this is almost too good to be true.
Same
So
here, brother. Same exact feeling, and again, I know that it may come across we're trying to be as objective as possible, and please understand the risks, that Wealth and I have outlined here. But yeah, I mean, I have the relationship with L1X. I've looked at the code. The testnet is functioning. Like there are a lot of major signs that say, man, this might actually be the case. And again, even if they're able to cover a fraction of what they're claiming, this is just it's awesome. I mean, it's a major step forward in terms of what crypto technology can be. And yeah, man, I'm excited for that, and that's why I think it comes across in these videos for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, AJ. Thank you for getting together and doing this AMA with me. I wish you guys and your team all the freaking best. I wish your community the best. Love that everyone's innovators. Anytime someone reaches out to me, and again, this was not sponsored content, but anytime a sponsor reaches out to me, when I say no, I always, if I reply, because I don't always reply, but if I reply and I say no, I'll oftentimes say, hey, just keep doing what you're doing, though. I love to hear that people are developing new and interesting things in the crypto space. And EMP Money, you guys have definitely put your spin on some new and interesting things, and you've tried to innovate and possibly You have worked your way into being because of your community, because they're so well educated, because they're so solid as a core community, and that really has everything to do. I mean, the fact that you were recommended by someone who was a part of your kind of core community to begin with, it really speaks volumes of the morale of the community overall, the people who really believe in what you were trying to do in the mission of what you're trying to accomplish. And because of all of that, you've had this opportunity to really take a part of something that could be truly extraordinary. And I think it couldn't go to a better community. Great job. Congratulations to all of you. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure, Wealth. And again, man, much love to you and your community. I've been following you for literally years, bro. We go way, way back, and I always appreciate your objective, approach on things. And it really helps me as well as a person keep myself in check. So again, brother, happy to be back, and I will absolutely give you an update on the exchange, as well as scheduling somebody from L1X to do a bit more of a deep dive for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Take care.